Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a little bit about my last week in games. As always, we'll start with some EVE Online, and I feel like I've played an average amount of EVE Online. I especially focused a little bit on exploring with the Exploratress, and that's been going quite well. I actually like the ship for exploration. It's not as good as the Gila is at the moment, but I think that it's a worthwhile alternative. What I especially like about it is that it's got 5 small drones, so it can handle pretty much all the frigates that those exploration sites throw at it, and it has the larger missiles, which means that you have some really good DPS for the cruisers and the bigger targets. That combination, I think, does allow you to be pretty efficient in all of these sites. You just have to, use the right weapon system on the right targets. You have to decide to maybe spread your drones out if there's a bit more of frigates in the sites, or sometimes you might even want to switch to your precision missiles. If there's really a lot of missiles, for instance, in a 3 out of 10, you would definitely use only your precision missiles, because then you've got some decent missile DPS as well on all of those. So overall, I think that it's a ship with the right versatility, and especially for the Sasha sites, it seems to be doing quite well. I also joined the mass tests for the missiles again, which I think had improved quite greatly. There is one weird bug that I found there, but apparently it was already on the radar from CCP, so it's all looking quite alright. We should get a release for all of that next week, which brings us into some new stuff on that release. Not only are we going to get the new missile graphics, which should, well, not change our experience too much. It's mostly on the longer ranges where it will reduce the graphical stress on the system, and on some systems it should really improve things by quite a large margin. We also get improvements to Into the Abyss with normally guaranteed drops in all the caches. That's definitely something I'll check out, but would be a pretty big improvement. I think there's nothing more frustrating than to risk your ship and then to have an empty cache there. And next to that, there should also be some changes to the drops, which should make Into the Abyss a little bit more rewarding for people that are running it. So we'll see how all of that works out. Of course, if I'm not mistaken, there might also be a new event coming with the release next week, which will be centered around freeing slaves and freedom for the Minmatar. So we will see. We'll see. We already saw during EVE Talk that that a couple of cruisers are spiking up, probably in preparation for that event. Stuff like the Gila, stuff like the Cerberus are always really popular when it comes to these events that last a couple of weeks, where you have to do some combat sites. So we'll see. I look forward to the next patch for EVE Online, and to more information as well, of course, on all of those propaganda structures that were being promised at this point. They were announced during EVE Down Under in Australia. Next up, we have a little bit of World of Warcraft, and it's really not been a lot of World of Warcraft. I mainly just logged in to do my emissaries so that I can keep earning more gold. I'm now very quickly approaching 300k gold, which is still not a lot compared to the cost that that new mount with its personal auction house will have, or access points to the auction house, I should say. But overall, I do feel pretty good about having 300k gold. I think if there's interesting vendor stuff, then I'll be able to buy it pretty efficiently and pretty quickly during the expansion. Now, something to look forward to, of course, there should still be a pre-patch between now and the expansion, which is in all likeliness going to come on the 17th. That is, I think, going to be the date that makes the most sense, because then we have 1 month until the expansion itself, which would still make it the shortest pre-patch that we've had before any of the recent expansions for the World of Warcraft. So that is something that I will definitely play a little bit as well, just see what kind of content there is there. There should be some sort of scenarios that introduce us to the war between the Horde and the Alliance, which is what BFA is all about. And then of course we get the expansion itself, where I think I'll try to do some decently intense dungeon running and maybe also the new island expeditions. But for this pre-patch, we also get the squad's stats squish, we get the new talents, the new trees, we also get the war mode system. So all of those are things that we get to take a look at this point. You really get to know what you can expect for your class and for your character when BFA will actually launch about a month later. So sounds pretty interesting, definitely something that I'll spend some time in as well, the pre-patch for World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. After that, I played just a smidgen of Skyrim, so, you know, just keeping up with trying to get my character ready for some of the quests there, and I'm still thinking main quest and then also the DLC where you go hunt for some vampires. I think that fits really well with the ranged character, but I still have to up my enchanting. Just never really felt like I wanted to do any Skyrim grinding at this point, so I think I started up the game twice, did a couple of dungeons, grabbed a couple of souls with my soul trapping bow, and then try to up my enchanting a little bit. It's in the 70s at this point, but as you guys probably know, the later levels also take quite a bit more time and effort, so I still have to work a decent amount in order to get to the point where I would say that my character is ready for the recordings of all of those quest lines that I'm planning to do. Which brings me to my final game for last week. It is Stellaris, and I've played a decent amount of Stellaris. I've been making some good progress with the Omniconfluence, and I am working hard on getting another series, another story going with them. Now, it is a little bit different from the Eradicators, and I'm not sure if I like it that much. I'm basically focusing very heavily on research, which is turning out to be really, really powerful. I have to admit that I'm doing quite well, and I wonder if I should maybe at some point make exterminators with that kind of a build, of a focus, because you do become super powerful and you still in the new patches of Stellaris have the option of growing quite steadily without being boxed in right away by a lot of opponents around you. So it's definitely a very interesting build, but having gone for something different than an exterminator, I also try to be like a good guy in this universe. I try to avoid wars, I try to help people out, and I want to get into a federation or make my own federation. And so it is completely different. You're far more passive, there's fewer actions that need to be taken. You're basically focusing on building that empire up. I would call it vertically, where you've got lots of habitats. I'm also building a ring world at this point, and I've just been making good progress in that Stellaris game, but it is definitely a little bit harder to get many videos out of it because not so much happens in this playthrough so far. I am also, I think, almost at the tech level of a Fallen Empire, which hasn't done anything so far this game. So I am really curious to see if or what type of final crisis we'll know, and how the universe will react to that. But most of my play time from the start up until the point that I'm at here has been rather uneventful. I've just been able to do my own thing without anyone even wanting to come close to test me or anything like that. There's one empire that did try to claim some systems of mine, and since we had a casus belli against him, we did teach him a little bit of a lesson, but other than that, it's been a very smooth playthrough, which has allowed me to basically, you know, explore that playstyle where you focus on research. Turns out that it is really, really very powerful, but I've not been able to do too much diplomatic stuff or too much war stuff. That's also a lot slower if you're not an Eradicator. So I did start one war. You can basically claim systems there that cost you influence, which is already my bottleneck at this point, and that's really only those systems is what you'll grab, even if you like completely overrun the enemy during that war. So it's a lot slower in this type of Stellaris, and the exception would be the driven exterminators that can just basically grab anything that they please, which, well, makes that for a very interesting and powerful playstyle, potentially combined with what I'm doing now on the research front. We'll see. We will see how that series evolves, and those videos are starting to go up and being scheduled at this point. And that's what I did last week. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you all next time.